Oh my goodness, that was way more interesting than it needed to be. Welcome on into this special live edition of Locked On Auburn. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, with us as we dap it up after Auburn takes down Texas 87-82. And Darrell, I mean, a massive chunk of this game, Auburn was dominating. They were dominating. And then they let Texas back in it little by little. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, this is actually close. Texas actually have a shot late. Thankfully, Auburn did enough to hold on, but goodness gracious, that was way closer than it needed to be.
You never apologize for a win on the road in the SEC. And if you'd have told me at 4:00 this afternoon Auburn was going to win by 5, I would have taken it all day. The problem is that you're up 21 with about 12 minutes left to go, and you got sloppy, and Auburn got lazy. But I've said this before. It's okay. You'd rather learn lessons like this walking out of there with a W. And let's be honest, Kaluma was unconscious. They're not even in that game without his 34. And Texas started hitting shots down the stretch that were unbelievable. Give Auburn credit for holding on, for fending them off, for hitting big free throws, hitting a couple shots. A little bit interesting the way the game was called down the stretch. Broom can get poked in the eye and slapped in the head, which we've seen for 2 or 3 years. He never gets any calls, and he gets beat up. He says something to the official. You can't do that. I know it's frustrating that Broom gets absolutely assaulted and there's no calls. Let's call spade a spade. But still, you cannot allow that to happen. That 2 points that they got in shooting those 2 free throws could have been huge. Could have been huge at the end. So, you know what, though, Zach? It's better to learn these lessons when you walk out of there with a dub.
That's right.
And you win on the road and up, horns down, and you get that W and focus on Saturday, South Carolina, cleaning that up. Bruce Pearl will use this and will blister some tail in the postgame locker room. He'll be glad for the win. But you can bet he'll get their attention for how they finish this basketball game.
I agree with that. And if you just want to zoom out for a second, just look at the meta of all of this. It was one of those nights in college basketball where a lot of good teams lost and a lot of good teams played poorly. And Auburn goes on the road and gets a quad 1 win. Let's have some perspective on all of this. Yes, that was extremely frustrating. Yes, that can't happen again. If that happens on the road at Kentucky or in Tuscaloosa, you lose. Those teams beat you. Nothing against Texas, but those 2 teams I think are a little bit better than Texas, even though I guess Kentucky lost tonight. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where we talked about the gauntlet that is the SEC, and there's not going to be many road games tougher than the one that Auburn just won. I mean, you can count on one hand the amount of tougher road games Auburn will have left on their schedule after the one for tonight. So, once again, you hate how it got to that point, but I don't know, it could have been worse. You could have let it slip away.
Well, here's why it could have been worse. I mean, your perspective on this is spot on. Georgia beats Kentucky at home tonight. I believe Texas is a much better basketball team than Georgia. Georgia, looked horrible their first SEC game. They come back home and beat Kentucky, who's number 6 in the country. The number 1 team in the country, who I knew wasn't the best team in the country, Tennessee, goes to Florida and doesn't just lose, gets embarrassed.
What, 25 points in the first half or something like that?
So you see those 2 things collectively, and you go, my God, anything can happen. I don't care how good Auburn is. Texas had won 12 games. They're playing at home. Thankfully, for 3/4 of that game, Auburn played really, really well.
Yeah.
And that was enough to carry them over the finish line to win the game. And you know what? They don't, at the end of the day, it's not about exactly show you how you win. Don't show me how you cut up the cow. Just show me the steak. And Auburn's got the steak by winning the game. I mean, they won the game. I get it. You will have to clean up some of the stuff that happened down the stretch.
Yeah.
And they will. I mean, this is a really, really good basketball team. And here's some more perspective. What other basketball team can go on the road in a hostile environment and not have a field goal in the last 5.5 minutes and the other team makes like 10 out of their last 12 shots, and Auburn still wins by 5. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you and I don't think you'll mind me sharing the conversation we had earlier here,
sure.
but like you had a bad feeling about the game.
I did have a bad feeling about this game. I did.
And if I would have said Auburn wins by 5, you're like, you know what, let's just take it. Who cares about the spread being 10.5? Who cares about style points in this? Like, if you just go to Brad Law put me through this exercise earlier today on Village Vice of the road games left on Auburn's schedule. We both agreed that at Tuscaloosa was tougher, at Lexington was tougher, and then I said at A&M was tougher, and then Texas was 4th. If you want to argue and say tonight's game is tougher than what Texas A&M might be, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to push back, but we're talking about, you know, of the 9 road games, this was the 3rd or 4th toughest one, and you got it out of the way. You win by 5. Who cares? Who cares? And like you said, Bruce Pearl's got coaching tape again.
He does. Listen, I think Auburn will come out Saturday and play really well against South Carolina. And I think if they get that lead opened up, you're not going to see the letdown. And look, people are talking about Missouri. You can pull it up. Missouri won tonight. They beat LSU, and I think they beat LSU pretty handily. So
this is going to beat LSU pretty handily, though.
But yeah, I mean, still, sure. You know, this is a team that Auburn beat by, you know, and beat going away last Saturday. They go and get a win at home. So, you know, look, again, the Oglesby technical foul. Now that I have time to really kind of process this,
yeah.
Again, Brew got hit in the face. He's frustrated. All he said to Oglesby was, "He hit me in the face. He hit me in the face." Should he really get teed up for that? It's not like he yelled at him, screamed at him, cussed at him. He said he hit me in the face. And Oglesby did not let him get a warning. He didn't let him talk. As soon as he said it, he teed him up. Instead of in the heat of the moment, the best player in a close game like that, you probably just walk over there and say, "Don't say another word. I'm teeing you up. That's it. Enough." He didn't do that. He teed him up for saying, "I got hit in the face." Which,
but the conference is filled with refs that want to make it about them in key moments. I mean, we see this all the time.
We absolutely do.
All the time.
They think that people, you know, pay ticket prices and watch television for them. Look, again, I get it. If you know that's how that official is that soft and that much of a prima donna, you got to be careful. But what I would say too is, what is Oglesby looking at when the play happened right in front of him? It happened 3 feet in front of him. You can't tell a dude gets slapped in the face, but you dang sure are locked in.
It's not like it was under the basket when there's a bunch of bodies around.
No, it was isolated. He was isolated.
What else around? And he just like pops him in the face.
You don't see that. You don't see that. But you hear and see him coming back down the floor saying he hit me in the face. So I get it. I mean, still can't do it. But, you know, if I'm Bruce Pearl, I send that tape into the SEC office and say, you know what, he made this a little bit personal. He's got to be a little bit more of a professional there. Number one, what's he looking at? Not calling the foul. The dude gets hit in the face. Number two, give a little bit of leniency there and give him a warning and say, not another word. I've seen so many officials that are so good walk up to the kid, grab him by the arm, and just tell him, don't say another word. And then it's over. But not Oglesby or Pat Adams or these guys that, you know, think that it's all about them.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And I don't know who the play-by-play announcer was. I think Fishback did a really good job. And I typically don't say this because I really don't get into all that. But that play-by-play announcer, I thought was Texas home announcer. That dude was rooting so hard for Texas and the excitement in his voice when they were – and I get it. Maybe they wanted a close game. But he seemed like the biggest Longhorn homer. I'd have to check his bio and see if he got his bachelor's degree from Texas because he seemed a little biased and a little excited.
They really wanted them to come back. That's for sure. And
Fishback shouldn't. Fish shouldn't. Damian Fishback shouldn't. He should be neutral. He's an Auburn guy. He should call it just like the other officials, like Greg McElroy does. Fishback shouldn't get that excited. He didn't. But he shouldn't get excited if the other team comes back. I mean, just call it neutral. Just be down the middle. You're an Auburn guy.
And I get the whole, like, part of your job is to sell the game because you don't want people to turn the channels or anything. And so like talking up like, oh, they've got a shot to make a run here. And they ended up being right. But yeah, that was a little interesting.
We've got somebody in the chat, and I'm glad because I didn't see it, saying that the official did tell him, he did say stop twice. I didn't see that, and maybe I didn't see it because Oglesby had his back turned to the camera.
Yeah, I don't know.
But whatever.
I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to show me a lot. You'd have to show me a lot to say like, oh yeah, he didn't have something there. Whatever. Okay. Question for the live chat. Which team will be the number one team in all of college basketball when the polls drop next week? And also Bruce Pearl made history. Let's talk about all that in just a second right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. I actually saw a bunch of Rocket Money commercials during the basketball game tonight. But Rocket Money, Darrell and I both use it. We both endorse it. It's super easy. It tracks all of your purchases as well as your subscriptions, and you can cancel your subscriptions like right from the app. You don't have to, I don't know, sometimes it's a pain in the butt to cancel those things, and it'll do it for you. I mean, that's almost worth it alone. Forget about the financial benefit, but obviously the financial benefit is great too. So you can cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That is rocketmoney.com. With Tennessee losing, it's presumed that Auburn will be the number one team in all of college basketball.
Well, you got to take care of business Saturday first. I mean,
I take care of business. I think there's a chance they'd even still be number one, but sure. That's fine.
They got to go on the road and beat South Carolina. And again, I feel better about that game than I did this one. Again, I had a weird, eerie feeling, uncomfortable feeling about this game all day. And when Auburn was up 21, I was like, Darrell, you're an idiot. What would you? Why would you even think that? Look what this team's doing. So I don't know why I did. I just didn't feel good about it. I felt like Auburn could win. It was an uneasiness. I think the South Carolina game, South Carolina is not as good as Texas. I think Auburn should come in and play well and get that W, but you still have to do it on the road. And again, this is why I'm very cautious. Is I would have said that Kentucky would have went in and absolutely boat raced Georgia tonight. That's what I would have said.
I would have thought that too.
And most people will think Auburn will go in, and South Carolina is comparable to Georgia. Auburn's comparable to Kentucky. So you see what could happen. You cannot take any night off, any game lightly when you're playing in the SEC on the road. And I hope that's the message. And see, that's the blessing in disguise, Zach, for Auburn winning the way they did. Bruce Pearl will get their attention. I agree with that. They're not going to go into South Carolina high and mighty, chest puffed out. We're the best thing since, UNLV or the UCLA that went undefeated. No, Bruce Pearl's going to say, you almost lost that basketball game. You better get focused. They will be focused for South Carolina because of the way they finished this game tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, yeah, that was frustrating, but you won. Like, what have we said the last month leading into conference play? Like how brutal all this is going to be. And we were kind of predicting the schedules and talk about how hard it is to win on the road. Like, okay, we saw that. And Auburn won by 5. Like, okay, and Bruce Pearl, once again, is going to be able to use that for sure. So was the officiating down the stretch brutal? Yeah, I think it was. Did Auburn have another game where an opposing scorer played like the game of their life? Yeah, that happened. That totally happened.
Because we focused on Johnson and shut him down and did a really good job. He averaged 19 a game, and Auburn did a great job on him. In fact, got him so frustrated, he got the hook and hold on Chad Baker-Mazara that ended up being a big call. But then Kaluma went off. And again, your perspective tonight is right on. We're talking about this game in a way like Auburn lost and they won on the road. And I'm going to tell you something. I was sitting
quad one win on the road.
Quad one win on the road with the way Texas shot the basketball, the last 7 minutes of the game. I was at a table one time at a benefit dinner with Sonny Smith and Wimp Sanderson. And somebody asked, this is applicable to tonight. Somebody asked Sonny, Smith, what would his best piece of advice would be to a young coach? And he said, if you play 35 games during the season, you're going to play really good basketball, maybe 10 of those games. You're going to play decent, maybe 15 if you have a good basketball team. And then there's going to be 5 or 7 games where you just don't play well and you do some things to get you beat. If you win those games and find a way to win those games, you can become a champion.
On the road against a top half SEC team?
See, I think Auburn played really, really well for about 35 minutes.
30 to
35 minutes. But what they did, the last bit of that is, and still won, is where great teams are defined. What do you do when it starts falling apart? And you could have Auburn could have easily lost their composure, Zach, with the way when we were watching that together, and they get a steal in the backcourt, then they give the ball to Texas when it gets bounced out of bounds, and the guy hit. You could have easily lost your composure. You're watching it all fall apart.
I think what happens for a different team, and Auburn's had some good teams. They've had some teams that were clutch. But we've seen this before where it came down to them missing field goals down the stretch. That didn't really, I know Chad missed one of his, but like the key ones late, like Auburn took care of business from the free throw line. And that's something that in previous years, previous good teams that either won an SEC tournament championship or an SEC regular season championship.
Miss those.
Yeah, they would miss those. And then you give Texas a shot, with the final possession down 2 or down 3. So
truth be told, we put Texas away by hitting free throws late. That's what's going to happen when you get into the NCAA tournament and you start playing teams in later rounds that are good basketball teams, and you're up 7, 8, 6 late in the game. You hit free throws to cap off wins and to seal wins. Auburn struggled doing that. How many times did we do a post-game show and go, my God, if Auburn could just hit their free throws, this would have been double digits. Yeah, they did. They missed one, but my gosh, the guy hit 51 in a row. I think we can give him a break for hitting one. But next time, don't ask me ever again while we're watching the game how many in a row he's hit.
Yeah, I asked, what's he up to? And you said 51, and then he missed the next one.
And yeah, but I shouldn't be superstitious, not even a little stitious.
Yeah, don't be superstitious, just a little stitious. That's right. All right, chat, player of the game, drop it down below. Janai Broom's stats were insane, ridiculous. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. I think he had 3 blocks too. Is that right?
I'll tell you,
3 blocks, 2 steals. I mean, just incredible line, but he's not the player of the game.
Miles Kelly.
Correct.
And what did we talk about after Saturday's game? Get ready. Watch out when he starts to get going, because he could be Auburn's second best player in the second half of the year. And tonight, he showed step 1, chapter 1 in that book that he's going to write in the second half. Without him, Broom got going a little bit. He started getting going at the end of the first half, but Kelly was the reason why Auburn was up 7, up 9, up 10. And I'm going to tell you, they got it to 11 at one point with about, 9 minutes left to go in the game. And he hit a big 3 to put it back up 14 and seemed to take a little life out of them at the time. I thought it did. Of course, they didn't lay down. Give Texas credit.
No, that's a good basketball team.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They got boat raced by Texas A&M by 20 on the road. I just think that's an absolute statement about how difficult it is to win on the road as opposed to at home. The elite teams find a way to.
Yeah, once again, if you would have told me Auburn won by 5 going into the game, I would have said, okay, great. They won in Austin.
I would have taken that. I would have thought Auburn would have been up 9 or 10 with about a minute to go, and Texas would have cut it to 5, and I'd have been happy with that. I did not think it was going to be a 21-point lead. There was a point in this game that I thought Auburn was going to win 30. It was going to be like Arkansas last year.
I did too. I thought that too. And then it started going the other way, and the broadcast was very excited to tell us that it was going that direction. There's some conversation in live chat, and we definitely need to talk on this. So Ken Palm updated. Auburn is now the number 2 team, according to Ken Palm. Duke is now number 1 at 13-2 with a net rating of 36.76. Of course, we're at 36.65. So about a 1/10 of a point behind them. So curious to see if folks run with that and then let Duke hop us. And
I don't know how they could. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you could go, I mean, but Duke's got more.
They beat us. So.
Yeah, but Duke's got more losses than Auburn, don't they?
They're 13-2. Yeah.
And they beat a team tonight that was a quad. I thought there was a quad 2 win tonight with Pitt. They played Pitt at home at Duke. So I thought that was a quad 2.
You would know more about Pitt than anyone else on the planet.
Well, so. I think it was a quad. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I know Duke Vital will reg Duke over Auburn. That's for sure.
All right. Yeah.
He loves them.
A lot of people love Duke. And a lot of people don't like Auburn being good at basketball. So
if Auburn beats South Carolina handily Saturday, I can't imagine how they wouldn't have them number. They'll be number 1, but they just have to take care of business.
The pollsters will then look at Ken Pom. We're at that point now where it's Ken Pom, and it's like, okay.
But where was Ken Pom all year? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, it's that time. Let's predict Auburn's next 5 games. I've been saying 5-0 the last few times. I don't think that's going to change, but let's look at it. So Auburn heads to South Carolina on the 11th. That is this Saturday. They host Mississippi State, who is a very good basketball team. Very good. I'm glad that one's at home. If that was in Starkville, I'd actually probably pick us to lose that game. We go to Georgia, which I didn't think was good, but they looked really good tonight. So who knows? Who knows at this point? You host Tennessee, obviously. We thought that was going to be the number 1 versus number 2. It doesn't appear that that'll happen now. And then at LSU, I'm just not impressed with LSU. I know it's a road game in SEC play, but I'm still saying Auburn goes 5-0. But Mississippi State, once again, I'm concerned about Mississippi State and Tennessee. Those are 2 obviously very good teams. You got them at home, so I'm saying 5-0, but 4-1 would probably be the most likely option here.
Yeah, I'm saying 4-1, and I can't tell you which one will be the loss. I think there's a couple that could be. The amazing part about what you just said is that Auburn should be favored in all 5 of those games.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't be. Well, I mean, they put out that graphic a few days ago that Auburn will be favored in every game for the rest of the season. I know that can change, but Auburn's expected to be favored in every game, including in Tuscaloosa.
Which surprises me. I'm
betting on that one.
Yeah, I think that I don't think they should be favored in Tuscaloosa unless there's a lot that could happen from now until then. If Alabama, loses 2 or 3 in a row and looks bad or whatever, but they play South Carolina tomorrow. Alabama does, so that should be interesting.
Okay. Which I like. I like that South Carolina will have a day less of rest for when we play them on Saturday. And obviously, like Alabama could throw a lot at you as well. Like that's a tough turn for South Carolina.
They're gonna be South Carolina's gonna expend a lot of energy tomorrow night. I mean, they are.
That's a tough draw for South Carolina to play Bama and Auburn back to back. Like that stinks.
I agree. I think 4-1. I just don't know. I can't find where the loss will be.
You're being accused of you losing the bug.
Just being realistic because of how hard it is to win on the road, and we saw it tonight. Kentucky is a very good basketball team, and Tennessee was undefeated and ranked number 1 in the country, and they both went down double digits.
I was watching Florida tonight, right, and what they did against Tennessee. Their jerseys just looked like Kentucky to me. I kept thinking they were Kentucky. Did that happen to you at all? No?
Yeah.
It did.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's like they were like deliberately trying to make them look like – because those aren't their normal jerseys. Like they don't normally – it's like a lighter blue than normal.
Yeah, it was.
Why did that happen?
They've got all the different kind of uniform combinations.
All right. Okay.
So.
There are like 1,200 people in here at like close to midnight Eastern time, is where a lot of people are watching from. Thank y'all.
You know what? That's a great point. We forget that.
Yeah,
and then we've got Eastern.
Yeah. Like more people watch in Atlanta than they do in Central Time. So
yeah.
One thing that we haven't discussed: Bruce Pearl, the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history.
Unbelievable accomplishment.
He gets a statue, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and so well deserved. And he didn't want to talk about it. When he tied Eves Saturday, Andy brought it up on the broadcast, and he did not want to talk about it. He said, that's something I'll reflect on when the season's over.
And I believe him.
I believe him because he's got so much left to focus on and play for this year. And I think he inherently knows. Yes, he does. He does. He knows.
He will never have a better chance to win a natty than with this team.
Coaches know first if a team is not what they thought they were going to be and if they're going to struggle, and coaches are the first to know if he's got a special team. And I think before the season started, when he did this schedule and didn't really back down from it and didn't act like, I think he knew this was the opportunity with all the guys that were coming back and who he's added, that this potentially could be a really special team. And I think now he knows what he has.
Yep.
And he doesn't want to throw that away by focusing on things that detract from that.
Yep. No, I think it's incredible. Congratulations, Coach Pearl. We all felt it was special when he got hired. I don't know if any of us really expected this. I don't know if we really expected this level of a turnaround, but no, we all hoped for it. But man, what he's brought to this university, it's so cool. It's so cool.
I can tell you exactly what a lot of people that I know that were basketball junkies at that time, and there wasn't a lot, but they just wanted to see Auburn get back to where they were before. Respectable, competitive, get to the tournament, once every couple years, compete. Yeah. That's it. That was it. Just be competitive, be respectable, go to the tournament every other year, whatever. That was it. And wins 20 games. Right. That's what the expectation
was. Go to the tournament every other year or something like that. Yeah. But man, if you would have told me it's like he's going to bring in multiple championships, it's like, what?
People don't understand the drought and the dry spells that Auburn has gone through, even before Barbie with Lebo and even with Cliff Ellis, where there were 3, 4, 5 years where Auburn wouldn't go to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they showed that graphic. It's like before Pearl and all of Auburn's history, they had 9 seasons of 20 wins, and like Pearl's got 6 in like the 11 years he's been here. It's just crazy.
Program changer. And I will go ahead and say this, also a key figure in the emergence and rise of what the SEC is doing in basketball too. Not by himself, but he doesn't carry that mantle alone. But him and a few others have elevated the whole conference.
Yeah.
And coaches can do that. Kirby Smart and Nick Saban did it in football. Bruce Pearl, I hate to say it, Rick Barnes, some others, maybe Calipari in his prime, elevated the whole league with the way they coach. Not just Auburn, but the whole league. And this league is the elite league in college basketball. And I would have never guessed that 10 years ago.
No, I wouldn't have either. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this late on a Tuesday night. So fun. The Auburn Tigers take down the Texas Longhorns 87-82. Darrell, where can people find you?
On X, DAP6410. Follow me on Instagram. Wednesdays and Fridays with you on regular shows with Locked On Auburn. Hey, Sunday nights, we do the show with Charlie 5 with Kyle on the Barn at 8 p.m., a little live show. So it's a lot of fun, and there's many opportunities to check us out.
Yep. Please like the stream, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate everything you guys do, even super late on a Tuesday night, or for some of you, maybe even close to early morning Wednesday. Thank you. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.